Since my first time behind the wheel of a race car, I have driven just about anything that there is to drive, whether it be NASCAR, Formula cars, dirt cars, Corvettes. To say the least, I've had my fair share of adventures in the driver's seat. My job as a race car driver is to feel and understand the vehicle that I drive. And at its best, that vehicle becomes an extension of who I am. It is my belief that each car has an experience of its own. In an inundated world of technology, efficiency, and logistics, cars have just become another tool or something that sits in the garage just waiting to be used. But our goal at the Driver's Decision is to reverse that idea. We believe that every single car has an experience of its own, and at its best becomes an extension of who you are. We want to show what you feel behind the wheel. The first BMW M3 was introduced in 1986, and it was known as the E30 series. It was based off the original 3 Series, and to be honest, there's not much similar about the two besides the chassis, door handles, and maybe a few screws here and there. Other than that, it was all race car. The reason BMW wanted to introduce it to the public was in order to meet homologation rules in order to run in the DTM series. Mercedes was kicking their... The original M3 sported only a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder motor that put out an 200 horsepower. Even in today, people regard the original E30 M3 as one of the greatest sports cars of all time. So, the E46 M3 generation, like the one we're sitting in now, has been said to be what the M3 was to the 3 Series, this is to the M3. They grew upon all of the different ideals of performance, comfort, luxury, and then added to it. The E46 generation was introduced in 2000, and when they came out, they came in 2 different transmission options. You had first the standard 6-speed manual gearbox by Getrag, and then from there on, you had another option, the new modern take, which was the SMG model, very original by BMW, naming it the Sequential manual gearbox. Essentially, that's what it is. It has an electro-hydraulically controlled actuator clutch that allows it to be a sequential gearbox along with paddle shift. Now, this is not the preferred model. Some people think it's less reliable, maybe even a little clunky. I think that's where people get the idea that it's a clunky transmission. But the precision and speed of shifts is phenomenal. So the owner of this car is actually my helmet painter, Tyler Cinerusa, and he has done very tasteful mods on this thing. He would like to say it's OEM plus, I would like to say it's perfection. So in here, he's got a few upgrades. He did the Bilstein PSS 9 coilovers with adjustable ride height. He has a StopTech ST40 brake kit, which actually works. He's also got some headers and exhaust out the back that give it a little bit of a throatier growl and gives it a little bit more horsepower as well. Oh, so amazing. So, like we said before, there's a lot of different examples of these BMW M3 E46s that you can buy. This one is absolutely cherry. The Imola Red just screams, I am speed.
I am speed.
As we all know, part of the experience is the cost of whatever it is. You don't go to an amusement park and expect to ride a roller coaster for free. In the same way, cars cost money, and depending on the experience, you might have to pay a little bit more. That's where the M3 really shines. The beauty of the M3 is that you can get it for such a reasonable price. On a typical model, you can find them for 15 to 30,000, like the one we're sitting in is probably the upper range. But if you're lucky enough, you can find one that's completely clapped with the SMG transmission and the convertible for around maybe $7,000. It's the subtle perfections in a vehicle like this, the handling, the power, the details that will leave anyone who drives it looking for an open road and a tank full of gas. When rating a vehicle, I think it's hard to find a specific number that's going to tell you where it actually stands. Out of this car, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's quite the experience to drive. It's fairly cost friendly. You're not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on one of these just to finally see one. This thing is more of a daily driver. Tyler Cinerusa, who owns this car, he uses it as a daily driver. He takes it in the wintertime, puts on some snow tires, drives it through all the snow here in Idaho. No big problem. If anyone is looking to feel like they're a part of something, they should get an M3. Not only just because you feel like you're a part of the vehicle when you're driving it, but also the car culture around it. It has earned the name the ultimate driving machine, and many people recognize it as that today. Road and Track said that it was one of the best sports cars of all time, and it has earned a cult-like following that allows people to feel like they're part of a culture. They feel like they're part of history when they drive this. I heard it said a long time ago, cars are like drugs. They're addictive, and while probably being more expensive than drugs, the rehab is usually a lot cheaper. What do you mean? When you nod your head yes, do you really know? What do you mean?